Magawan kampong pala kami. Ma'am, start na po, ma'am.
Wait lang, set wala
Sige,
yata.
go.
Jasly wala pa yata.
Ma'am, wait lang po namin yung kasama namin.
Yan na.
Okay na po.
Ganda
Good
pala.
afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmates. We are the Group D. I am Vincent Chloe G. Canlas, together with Jeric Anilov F. Sagabayan, Poliani G. Guevara, Ashley M. De Jesus, Ramses B. Menaves, and we're going to report protective blocks. What are protective blocks? Protective blocks are commonly used to avoid unwanted access to properties such as houses, warehouses, factories, etc. For example, when you're going to a vacation and you do not have someone to watch your properties, so you buy lock equipment and so you can prevent people or animals to enter your properties. 2. Locks. Defined as mechanical, electrical, hydraulic, or electronic device designed to prevent entry to a building or room. For example, when you are studying peacefully in your room, and because you have nieces playing all around in the house, so you need locks to lock your door to prevent them coming in your room. 4 general groups of key locks. Number 1, padlocks. A type of lock that has a U-shaped hinge designed to hook onto item that needs to be secured. These are the equipments we buy to secure our gates and other stuffs that we value in order to keep them safe. Next. Number 2, combination locks. A type of lock that predetermine combinations and numbers to unlock or lock. These are some models of locks that we used back in our house before these types of locks needed a combination of code, like a password, to enable to unlock this type of locks that we usually use in our locker back in the days. Next, Ramses Menaves.
So, card-operated code lock. A type of lock that needs a card insertion or correction button in order to unlock. So, a card-operated lock system consists of computer up to 11 of magnetic stripe keycard computerized card reading door locks and a handheld computer that programs, interrogates, and troubleshoot doors units. To, to open the door, the authorized person slides a card encode with the same instruction as the door unit through the vertical slot. The computer reads the card information and opens the door if the information is valid for the door at the time. Flexibility is the main advantage of this system. Technician can change the technician can change lock from the central computer by reprogramming the door as of often desired. The central computer also records all transactions, providing a printout for administrative control of all changes. System operator System operators also can encode special emergency card, master cards to give certain personnel, such as security maintenance workers, access to selected doors in a given area at a certain time. Among the other advantages of this system are non-rekeying, no liability risk of not rekeying when needed, automatic card expiration time, the liability of to open the door during certain times, and the ability to open a door only once, then canceling the access. Next step. Electronic lock. A lock that is opened lock by electronic means. So ito po yung mga lock na ginagamitan ng electronic na ano, kumbaga yung mga makabagong lock ngayon yung ginagamitan ng fingerprint, ganun, etc. etc. Next one. Biometrics, a machine that can be used for identification of human by their characteristic or traits. So, bio, bio, biometric is a measurement on and statistical analysis of people unique physical and behavioral characteristics. The technology is mainly used for identification and access control for identifying individuals. The basic premise of biometric authentication is that every person can be accurately identified by the intrinsic physical or behavioral traits. The term biometrics is derived from the Greek word bio means life and metric meaning to measure. Authentication by biometric verification is becoming increasingly common in corporate and public security systems, consumer electronics, and point-of-sale application. In addition of security, driving force behind biometric verification has been convenience, as there are no password to remember or security tokens to carry. These are the psychological identification relate to the composition of the users authenticated. Facial recognition, fingerprints, fingerprint geometry, or the size or and position of the finger, iris recognition, vein recognition, retina scanning, voice recognition, DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid matching, digital signature. Next slide. Key control, known as the handling management of keys of a business or infrastructure to avoid unwanted access to the keys. So, key controls is an access to control system you can use to keep track of your company's keys. It allows you to sure your keys are being used by authorized person only. The rise of cybercrimes has been pushed people to force their attention on improving information security and high-tech security measures. But improper handling of mechanical keys can allow you facility to be vulnerable even when sophisticated security systems are in place. Next, Anilob, ikaw na.
So change key, a key that unlocks a single lock in a master key system. A change key is a key on the lowest level of master keying system. Change keys are also referred to as day keys. Typically, change keys are issued to personnel that required access to one or two areas in a facility. Next, next, the submaster key, a key that can open all locks within a particular area or grouping. So it will open only one lock, and locks that are exactly with the same locks opened by submaster key can also be opened with the use of master keys and to this level above that rank. Next, master key, a key that can open a series of locks. This belongs to a higher security group than the change key and master key, but still cannot open or unlock everything in the key system. A key that opens all lock of a set, the individual keys of which are not interchangeable. Next, so next is master keying system. This system refers to the arrangement of series of locks and their corresponding keys. A master key system is a key plan whereby selected keys can open a number of predefined doors. So next is Polyan.
Levels of control in master keying plan. There are different levels of control in one system. Level 1 to level 4. Next one. Set. The level 1 control needs individual and different keys. Does it offer the highest level of security? And that's why we usually using this type of key in our example home and small stores. Excel. The level 2 is the controlled using a key and a master key. And we're using this type of key in schools, apartments, or industrial buildings. And next is Ashley De Jesus.
The level 3 needs a change key, master key, and a grandmaster key to operate. For example, for office buildings, large schools, and hospitals. Next. The level the level 4 needs all four keys: change key, master key, grandmaster key, and a great grandmaster key. This level of this
Keying.
this level of keying offers the least amount of security. Security. No. As there needs to be many different search lines for the different keys to unlock the lock. With this, it allows the opportunity for keys not meant for that lock to unlock it. For examples, very large hospitals, universities, large government complexes. Next. Mason keying. Mason keying is a system which uses a number of unique individual keys. This system is recommended by professionals, locksmiths, as it offers a higher security. A Mason keying is a system that permits the lock to be opened with a number of unique individual keys. Mason key systems are often found in apartment, building common areas, condominium complex, rental flats, older old schools building. Yun lang.
Okay, sige. Tapusin na muna natin lahat na. Tapos, group E.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Ma'am, mag-present na po ako.
Sige.
Good afternoon. I am Katrina Angela Matias, together with my groupmates Christian Ivan Batangan, Micaela Luis David, Princess Leilani Kim, Chin Ann Marita Baba, and Ivan Ventus, and we are going to present the different types of fire protection that is related to fire protection system of industrial security concepts. To be specific, we are going to tackle these topics. First, types of fire protection. Second, classes of fires. Third, recognizing fire hazard. Fourth, principles of extinguishing fires, and fifth, types of fire extinguishers. And now let's start with the types of fire protection that will be discussed by Christian Ivan Batangan.
The types of fire protection would be the examples of a fire alarm. A fire alarm is a set of devices that utilizes audio and visual signaling to alert people to a fire risk, smoke, or carbon monoxide occurrence. The warning signal might be a flashing light or a loud siren or bell, or it can be both. Some fire alarm systems use extra alerts, such as calling or leaving a voicemail. Next slide, please. The devices could be listed as the smoke detector and the fire bell. A smoke detector is a sensor that detects smoke as a primary indication of fire. It provides a signal to a fire alarm system in a large building or produces an audible and visual signal locally in a room or a home. Smoke detectors are usually housed in a small, round plastic case and placed at the roof where there are risks of fire or fire hazards. The second one would be the fire bell, which is a bell that is rung to give a fire alarm throughout the entire building. Next slide, please. While these in the next part of are the systems used in handling and mitigating damages caused by a fire, which are the automatic sprinkler. An automatic sprinkler is a fire suppression or fire control device in which a heat-activated element. The fire sprinkler operates automatically when the air temperature rises to or above the device's specified temperature rating. When that happens, the sprinkler discharges water over a specified area. While the standpipe, a standpipe design basically entails a network of pipes that connect a water supply to a hose connection in a building for purposes of fire extinguishment by firefighters or other trained personnel in the building. Next slide, please. There are also the fire hydrant and the fire extinguisher. A fire hydrant are designed to instantly provide the water required by the firefighters to extinguish a fire. It is a viable fixture placed inside or outside a building, parking area, industrial area, mine, roadside, etc. that is connected to the municipal or private water service network. A fire extinguisher. Fire extinguishers are portable devices used in extinguishing small fires or reduce their destruction before firefighters arrive at the scene. These are kept handy at places, namely fire points in buildings, factories, public places, or transportation. The types and numbers of fire extinguishers legally required for an area are governed by the safety regulations in the force in that particular area. Thank you.
Now let's proceed with the classes of fires. There are a total of 6 classes of fire which are called as Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class E, and Class F. So let's start with Class A. Class A fires involves ordinary combustibles such as paper, trash, some plastics, wood, and cloth. It is a rule of thumb that if it leaves an ash behind, it is considered as Class A fire. Next is Class B. These are fires that involve flammable liquids such as propane, oil, petroleum, and gasoline, while Class C fires involve flammable gases such as butane and methane. Class D fires involves metal. It is a rule of thumb that if the name of the metal ends with the letters U or UM or a sound of it is considered as Class D fires. Example of these are aluminum, magnesium, beryllium, and sodium. Class E fires, on the other hand, involves energized electrical components such as in computers, circuits, or heaters. And lastly, Class F fires involves vegetable or animal cooking oils or fats that common in commercial cooking operations using deep fat fryers. So next is recognizing fire hazards. But before that, let's define what is fire. Fire is a chemical reaction that requires 3 elements to be present for the reaction to take place and continue. These three elements are heat or the ignition source, fuel, and oxygen. These 3 elements typically are referred to as the fire triangle. Fire is the result of the reaction between the fuel and oxygen in the air. Scientists developed the concept of a fire triangle to aid in understanding of the cause of fires and how they can be prevented and extinguished. Heat, fuel, and oxygen must combine in a precise way for a fire to start and continue to burn. If one element of the fire triangle is not present or removed, fire will not start or if already burning will extinguish. Now let's proceed with the 3 steps of identifying fire hazards.
Thank you, Ms. Matias. As Ms. Matias mentioned, there are 3 steps to recognize fire hazards. The first step is to recognize the source of ignition. Ignition sources can include any material, equipment, or operations that emit a spark or flames, including obvious items such as torch, as well as obvious items such as static electricity and grinding operations. Equipment or components that radiate heat, such as kettles, converters, and mufflers, also can be ignition sources. After you find the sources of ignition, let us proceed to the second step, which is recognize the source of fuel. You can look for the possible things that can easily burn and can cause spread to the other fuel sources. Fuel sources include combustible materials such as wood, paper, trash, and clothing, flammable liquids such as gasoline or solvent, and flammable gases such as propane and natural gas. After you recognize the sources of fuel, let us proceed to the third step, which is the recognize the sources of oxygen. Oxygen in the fire triangle comes from the air in the atmosphere. Air contains approximately 79% nitrogen and 21% oxygen, depending on the type of fuel involved. Fire can occur with much lower volume of oxygen present than needed to support human respiration. Air conditioning and handling system or natural airflow are the two primary sources of oxygen for a fire. Fireworks, oxygen from cylinder, storage, and pipe systems, oxygen used in welding operations, and oxygen for patients in hospital are also some common of oxygen. Now let us proceed to common fire hazard. Miss Kim.
Thank you, mate. So these are the type of common fire hazards. So first is arson, second is smoking materials, third is often flame like candles or incense. Fourth is electric wiring, appliances, and equipment hazard. Uh, Residential furnishing, accumulation of combustible materials, improper handling and storage of combustible flammable liquids. And the last one is use of halogen lamps. So next slide, please. How important it is to recognize fire hazard. Recognizing any type of fire hazard is important, especially when you are the public servant. It is also important to know the basic steps and identify fire hazard. Why? Because if you don't know or you can recognize a fire hazard, how can you assess what you are doing, what you are going to do, or what steps you will take? The advantage of it is that you are recognize the fire hazard. You are unable to put measures in the area and can prevent a fire from spreading. Thank you, mate.
So next we will tackle about the principles of extinguishing fires. Next, please. So all fires can be extinguished by cooling, smothering, starving, or by interrupting the combustion process to extinguishing fire. So the first method is cooling. Cooling is limiting temperature by accelerating the rate at which heat is released from the burning substance. Dito, basically, ito lang yung di ba pag may nasusunog is, commonly, inaano natin is buhusan natin ng tubig. So, yun yung cooling. So, this method is typically employed for Class A fires, which is, natakad kanina, yung wood, fabrics, papers, trash, and plastics. So, the second method is smothering or deblanketing method. So, it is the blocking of air from reaching the fire's center will restrict the amount of oxygen available for combustion, which will lower the oxygen level in the enclosed space until the fire extinguishes itself. So, yung blanketing method, ito yung kapag may nasunog kang niluluto ba, nagluluto ka ng isda, tapos nasunog siya. So, hindi mo kasi siya pwede buhusan ng tubig kasi mas lalo siyang liliyab. So, yung mas magandang gawin is kukuha ka ng fire blanket or basang tela, tapos dun mo siya i-apply para hindi na maano yung apoy. Mas lalong mapula talaga ng ganun. So, third method is starving or separation method. So, it is the removing possible fuel from the area around the fire, separating the fire from the mass of combustible objects, or cutting the burning material into smaller flames that can be put out more quickly are all methods of limiting fuel. So, yung ibig sabihin lang nito is yung tatanggalin natin
or mag-aalis tayo ng object na pwede pang masunog. For example, sa isang farm, may nasunog doon na kahoy. Tapos meron siya makadikit pang mga damo, ganyan, or mga woods. Ang gagawin natin, tatanggalin natin yun para hindi na mas kumalat or mas masunog pa yung farm mo. Yun yung separation method. So yung last is inhibition or the interruption of chemical chain reaction. It is the applying or extinguishing materials to the fire that block chemical chain reactions at the molecular level. Using of dry chemical powder application breaks down chain reaction. So yung ibig sabihin lang natin is yung paggamit ng fire extinguisher kapag nasusunog. So basically nakikita natin ito kapag sa mga hotel, motel, restaurant, kung may nasunog, anin natin ng fire extinguisher. So,
So, ako na pala. Types of fire extinguishers. Based on our research, there are 8 different types of fire extinguisher that we included in our presentation, and each one has wide range of application. The first one is dry chemical. These types of fire extinguisher are usable for flammable solids, liquids, and also flammable gases such as propane and butane. They also work on fires caused by electrical equipment, but unlike CO2, the powder congeals under heat and can leave a sticky residue. Second is the foam. The foam fire extinguisher is intended for use on flammable liquids like petrol, oils, and solvents. As they are water-based, they also extinguish flammable solids like wood, paper, and textile. The third one is water. These should only be used on Class A fires such as flammable solids like paper, wood, textile, and furnishings. This type of fire extinguisher can be very dangerous for other types of flame. Sa next slide, papakita ko yung simple chart kung saan mas compatible yung mga fire extinguisher. The fourth one is Metal X. Sodium chloride-based dry powder for use on most Class D fires involving combustible metals such as magnesium. Fifth is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide extinguisher are primarily for use on flammable liquids. Flammable liquid fires like petrol, oils, and other gas like liquids. They are also recommended on fires that are caused by electrical and electronic equipment, as the CO2 gas won't damage your computer or gadgetry. 6 is halon. Halons are electrically non-conducting and have been acknowledged as the most effective universal extinguishing agent for aircraft use. They work mainly by chemically interrupting the reaction described as the fire triangle, fuel, oxygen, and heat, which must be sustained for a fire to continue. Next is potassium acetate. Potassium acetate produces no HF, presents minimal environmental and toxicity concerns, and is very effective in extinguishing compound. It does, however, leave a wet residue upon discharge. Although the residue was observed to dry rapidly to an adherent white surface, it was easily removed with water. Last is wet chemical. They contain a special chemical formulation that reacts with cooking fat and cooking oil to extinguish the fire. So they are a must for the commercial kitchen. Ito yung sinasabi kong chart kanina. These are different types of fire extinguishers designed to put out the different classes of fire. Selecting the appropriate fire extinguisher is an important consideration because a wrong extinguisher actually may make a fire emergency worse. For example, in a roofing contractor, failing to use a crated extinguisher on energized electrical components may endanger workers by causing the extinguishing material to be electrified by the energized components that are on fire. C-rated fire extinguisher put out the fire by using a chemical that does not conduct electricity. Using fire extinguishers, we should employ the PAS system of early stage of firefighting. P. Pull the pin on the extinguisher. A. Aim at the base of the fire. S. Squeeze the handle. S again. Sweep at the fire, moving from side to side. Hindi ko siya ma-demo kasi wala kaming fire extinguisher at home, kaya pwede niyong panoorin sa YouTube ganyan para mas maintindihan niyo yung PAS system. Again, this is Group E. Thank you.
Okay, sige. Yung last group, pwede na mag-start.
Okay, so good afternoon to all. We are the Group F, and we will talk about document security. So, next slide. So we will talk about the following, which is the types of business records, the categories of storage containers, some tests for safe fire resistance, safe vaults in the file room, as well as sharing our conclusions and final thoughts as a group. Next slide, please. Now, so let's talk about the types of business records, which we will tackle its definition, importance, and its types. So, what are business records? A business record is a document that records an act, condition, or event related to a business. They include meeting minutes, memoranda, employment contracts, and accounting source documents. It must be retrievable at a later date so that the business dealings can be accurately reviewed as required. Next slide. So, why is it important? It contributes to the smooth operation of agency programs, followed by its protection of rights of citizens and the agency. And if if they're not compliant, there are legal consequences. And records are important for their content, and they are the evidence of communication, decisions, actions, and history. Next slide. So now we have the 5 steps to create a financial record keeping system. 1 is to capture the information. 2 is to check to make sure the information is complete and correct. 3 to record the information to save it. 4 to consolidate and review the information. And 5 to act based on what you know. Next slide.
So let's move on the types of business records. We have 6 basic records, includes the bank statement, accounting records, wherein the financial statements, accounts payable, expense, sales invoice, and also we have the business loans record or the documents, legal documents, permits and license, and also the insurance documents. Let me first start on the bank statement record. So bank statement records. Your bank statement detailed all of your accounts with the bank. The accounts may include your checking, savings, investment, and credit card records. And you can reconcile your bank accounts with the accounting records you must track. Compare your bank statement to your financial records and review them for potential mistakes. If your bank statement do not match your accounting records, there may be an error in your books or records. Bank statements help you to track your business progress too. And you use your bank statements to file your taxes. So mahalagang meron tayong mga once na you have a business, kailangan meron kayong record ng mga bank statement nyo. Kasi dito parang pera yung usapan. So, itamas na meron kayong keep safe documents kasi andito nga, tulad ng nabanggit kanina, andito yung mga savings, andito yung mga record, andito yung mga parang transaction with parang transaction pagdating sa pera. Next, yung accounting records na kung saan pumapasok din dito yung financial statement, accounts payables, expense, sales, sales invoice. So, the document all of your business transactions in your accounting records. The necessary accounting records for business includes all of the information about your income, equity, and expenses. From your financial accounting records, you may comply the data into financial statements and compute all business ratios. Monitor your financial records at regular intervals, just like monthly or quarterly or every meaning after every 3 months, and verify that you track every expenditure and source of income. Without all of the accounting data, your records are incomplete and give inaccurate information. Keep all receipts and copies of invoices to back up your records. So dito, just like what I have said dun sa bank statement, parang eto magkasama sila because financial statement, so mga expense, once na may record ka kasi ng accounting mo, and then, di ba, sa ano ba kayo kukuha ng pang-expense dun sa banko nyo? So, once na may record ka, dito yung ginastos nyo, dito lumabas yung so, magbubunggo yung record nyo and check and balance yung business nyo nun. And number 3, the business loans documents. Sabi dito, if so, tracking your loan is crucial. You want to track like things just like amount of the original loan, loan approval date, disbursement date, expected payoff date, loan payment due dates, and also the interest rate changes is if applicable. So, dito naman pumapasok yung mga loans kasi hindi naman nating masasabi na pag nag-business ka, hindi ka naman makakapanghiram kahit sa mga bank loans lang yung mga yan. So, keep all documents for the loan somewhere you can easily access them. If you decide to pay off the loan sooner or need an extension, provide the document to the loan provider. Track business loans repayments in your books, debit the loan account to decrease the liability in your books, and credit the cash account for the payments. So, eto mahalaga din siyang meron tayong record kasi loans nga siya. So, depende na lang kung ayaw mo siyang bayaran, wag mong itago yung record ng loan mo. Pero dito kailangan siya kasi sinasabi nga dun sa binasa ko kanina na if you want to pay the loan na buo na close na yung loan nyo, at least meron kang mapapakitang document or mapuprovide na document dun sa loan provider mo. And pang-apat is legal documents. So, the legal documents your business has depend on your business structure. For example, in incorporated companies must maintain their articles of incorporation. Other legal documents include partnership agreements for partnership, or also known doing business for a sole proprietorships. You must maintain all legal documents providing you your own business. Keep these documents somewhere safe in case you need to provide a proof of ownership. So remember that tracking your legal documents is different from tracking financial records. You must know where you store your documents so you can easily pull them whenever you need them. So, eto yun, andito nga sabi legal documents. So, eto na yung about sa company, partnership. So, it's a must din na kailangan meron ka din netong record na pinakatago-tago mo. Kasi dito malalaman yung mga agreements nyo, agreements ng company, and also the partnership if ever na may kasosyo ka, di ba? And second to the last, the permits and license. State and local governments may require you to obtain various permits or license to operate your business. And depending on your business industry, you may need to apply for and receive industry specific permits or license. Track your permits and license because you may need to periodically renew them. And keep an eye out for a changing law for the permits or license your business has. If a law changes where you must pause or how often you need to renew a permit or a license, comply promptly to avoid penalties or fines. So, alam naman natin yung permit and license na kung saan ito yung mga nagsasabi na you are na pinayagan ka na meron kang permiso na um, na magtayo ng ganitong business, na mag-sell ng ganitong product. So, kailangan din natin siyang itago kasi once na ma-question ka sa mga sa government, like ganun, meron kang record na you have the permit to build that business. And also last, the insurance documents. There are various type of insurance policies you may need to purchase when running a business. Example of the types of insurance you may purchase include business liability insurance, renters insurance, auto insurance, and also the workers' compensation insurance. Insurance policies can help you to protect your company in the event of natural disasters, just like pagbabaha, yung earthquake, ganun, and lawsuits, employees getting sick or injured while working, and also the data breaches. Kung natatandaan niyo yung example na kung saan yung isang business, di ba, sabi niya ganun, sinunog niya kasi alam niyang may makukuha siyang insurance kasi nag-apply siguro siya ng nag-apply or nag-purchase siya ng insurance kasi meron pagka may mga tulad ng sinabi ko pag may natural disaster may makukuha yung business mo na insurance or parang pera ganun once na may mga natural disasters or emergency happen. And of course, like what I have said, those documents mentioned earlier is important to keep record for your business. With that, Rafael Guevara will discuss and present what are those kind or categories of storage container for your business documents. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Categories of storage containers. Next slide, please. What is storage containers? Storage containers is defined specific location in high volume storage. It resembles a folder or directory in a computer file system, although there are some differences in the way files are handled. Next slide. Storage for your business. Corrugated cardboard boxes. Low. Corrugated cardboard boxes. These economical storage boxes are light duty and suitable for letter or legal size paper. Corrugated boxes usually have one layer of flatting between two liners, which gives them tear resistance qualities that keep packaging intact and documents safe. Cardboard boxes are exceptional for long-term record storage and archive documents. One must be aware of the environment that cardboard boxes are stored in and make sure they will not subject to water damage or fire. And the other one is plastic storage container. These plastic storage containers, sturdy plastic containers, offer another way to store your documents. For businesses using a self-storage rental facility, plastic containers may be useful solution as there is typical no ventilation or pest control at self-storage facilities. This case, plastic containers can help prevent water damage or mold for self-stored documents. I-relate ko lang po dun sa diniscuss ni Mate Shen at saka Mate Naiden. Yung mga document na, yung mga business record or documents, dito po nilalagay upang maiwasan yung maiwasan yung misplace ng mga documents and pag-arrange ng mga documents. Next.
Good afternoon. I will discuss for the test for safe fire resistance. Next slide. So there are three sets for fire protection and the following are the basic tests. The first one is fire endurance test, second is explosion and hazard test, and third is the fire impact test. Let's first discuss the fire endurance test. So there are standardized fire exposure conditions that a fire endurance test can determine. It primarily measures the degree of resistance necessary for a safe. So let's proceed to the procedures. Here are the procedures for fire endurance test. Number one, to prepare for the fire endurance test, the exterior surfaces of the safe should be exposed, excepting its bottom surface. To do this, the safe is placed on a cold furnace. On the other hand, the interior of the safe should possess a heat measuring apparatus and loosely distributed papers. The purpose of that is to contact all interior surfaces. And then, after preparing all of that, close and lock the safe doors and shut the furnace to start the fire. So, depending on the set standards of time and temperature, gradually adjust the gas and air supply to increase the heat of the furnace. It must be done carefully to keep the fire well distributed to the safe, as well as the thermocouples could record accurate temperatures, thus the test standards are maintained. Next slide. There are various classifications for the test times and temperatures for each test. So in the fire endurance test, its classification only varies from classes A, B, and C. So for class A, its time in furnace is 4 hours, and the temperature it's reaching is 2000 Fahrenheit. For class B, time in furnace is 2 hours, and then the temperature reaching is 1850 Fahrenheit. And for the class C, the time in furnace is 1 hour and 30 minutes, and its temperature reaching is 1700 Fahrenheit. This is done when when the test sample has completed the required period of time. So it remains required period of time, it remains on the furnace. The fire is already extinguished and the sample has already cooled without opening the furnace. Next. The second one is the explosion and hazard test. So explosion and hazard test determines whether or not the design of the safe protects it against explosion in case of sudden intense heat exposure. So if the safe construction is faulty, the sudden high temperature will cause hydrogen air steam mixtures in the insulating material to explode and rupture the insulation and safe walls. This rupture will destroy much of the safe's resistance to fire. Next, let's proceed to the procedures for this explosion and hazard test. So, the test for an explosion is relatively simple. The empty closed furnace is preheated to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. The furnace is opened, the test samples Then the test sample is inserted and the furnace is closed again for 30 minutes while fire is maintained at 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. So after the test, the sample is allowed to cool until it can be handled. If no rupture of the insulation can be found, the sample passes the test. Next slide. So unlike the fire endurance test, the first test that I discussed earlier, um, which classification varies from classes A, B, and C, the explosion hazard test is until class E. So let me read the class D and E. For the class D, its time in furnace is 1 hour and the temperature reaching is 1550 Fahrenheit. For the class E, the time in furnace is 30 minutes and the temperature reaching is 1400. Next.
Now we have the Now we have the fire impact test. So the fire impact test measures the resistance of a safe to impact when in a heated condition. The test simulates as a safe falling 3 floors to the basement of a burning building, then lying in the burning embers until cool. Next slide. Now we go to the procedures. So during the test, the sample is placed in a furnace, and the fires are lighted, which the time and the temperature follow the same standards as for the fire endurance test for the length of time determined by the classification desired. At the end of the required time in the furnace, the fire is extinguished. The truck and sample are hoisted so that its bottom is 30 feet above a riprap of brick on a heavy concrete base. Then it is dropped. The drop is made within 2 minutes of the time when the fire is extinguished. When the safe has cooled sufficiently to handle, it is inverted, reinstalled in the furnace, and then again subjected to the standardized time temperature conditions for a period determined by the classification desired. After the time is over, the sample is allowed to cool before the furnace is opened. When the doors are forced open, the records must be in a usable condition. So, kahit anong mangyari dito sa safe natin, no? Like, for example, na-drop na siya, binagsak na siya, kahit anong mangyari, or nasasunog na siya, dapat lahat ng mga nasa loob ng, lahat ng mga kagamitan na nasa loob ng safe na ito is still intact, na pwede pa rin siya magamit, it is still safe kumbaga. So, next slide. So, the classifications are as the same as the second test, in which for class A, we have 4 hours that which temperature is reaching around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Class B is in 2 hours with 1850 degrees Fahrenheit. Class C with 1 hour and 30 minutes with 1700 degrees Fahrenheit. Class D with 1 hour with 1550 degrees Fahrenheit. And then last with Class E, which is 30 minutes with 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. Next.
Let's talk about the safe, vault, and the file room. What is a safe? It is a security lockable box used for securing objects against theft or fire. The purpose of safe is to prevent the document from getting into the wrong hand and to prevent from circumstances like fire and other natural disaster. An example of this is pag pumupunta kayo sa mga hotels, meron mga security lockable box doon. Minsan na nakatago sila sa mga cabinets. Vault. It is commonly built into the construction of the building that is used to store important documents. It is also has a separate door that is durable, bulletproof, and fireproof. The purpose of this is to prevent documents and valuable things against theft, bullets, unauthorized use, fire, natural disaster, and other threats. An example is yung movie na Money Heist, wherein built-in yung kung nasan nakalagay yung mga pera. And last, file room. It is suitable for storing large quantities of official information and important documents. The purpose is it prevents a database of the file that support your company's legal team and help maintain your physical papers. Ito, may mga room na rin sila wherein yung mga files nandun lahat. For example, if ever na nakapanood na kayo ng mga movie, movie na may pinapakita sila kung saan sila pumupunta para kunin yung mga files. Next, Shen.
Sorry. So now we will have our conclusions and final thoughts. So as for the in regards to the group, we wanted to conclude that every information that we presented here, as well as its procedures, its equipment, is very essential to our business security, in which are all of the documents, the files that are need to be stored, is in a safe place, which cannot be damaged or stolen or anything that will uh, that will make any situation worse, which it may lead to legal concerns or having important documents to be missing. So it is best to these have all of these supported for documents. So we concluded that document security is as important as every type of security in industrial or in the industry or as per industrial security. So that would be all. Thank you, and thank you for listening, and good day.